a press conference is basically when multiple forms of media get together to interview someone who's newsworthy or someone, I guess, who we want to find out something about. In football terms, that may be a player, it may be a coach from a team, it may be someone who's in the news, an administrator or something along those lines. Being prepared is pretty important. It's really good to know some background on your subject. If it's a player, how many goals have they scored this season, how well have they been playing, how old they are, previous clubs. Perhaps they're coming up against a club that they've played for before. These are things that are very important to know before the press conference starts because they give you ammunition for the questions that you want to ask. In Australia, again, we tend to be a little more informal with these sort of things. Normally, we know roughly who the media outlets are and the questions are just asked directly to the talent. There's not usually an order to these sort of things. They often take care of themselves. There's usually the talent answers one question, the question finishes, there's a little bit of a lull, someone else will ask another question. And often with a press conference, there's a natural flow to it. If the person being interviewed follows a certain topic, says something that needs expanding on, the next journalist or the same journalist will ask a question following on from that question. So it is very important to listen to what the talent is actually saying before you ask your next question. The absolute key in asking questions in a press conference is ask the questions that people want to know. It's pretty simple. What do you want to know about the person who's being interviewed? And usually what you want to know about the person being interviewed is what everyone else wants to know about the person being interviewed. That is very important. It's a great skill and often it is actually overlooked by a lot of people that what the public want to know about a person should be the top priority in your head when you are asking questions. The reality is you are trying to do a job. The person answering the questions is trying to do a job too, and it's always very important to maintain a level of professionalism. When it comes to other journalists, try not to ask questions over the top of other journalists. That's a little bit of a skill in itself, but most of the time if you do watch a press conference, you'll find it doesn't happen. The reason being because most of the journalists have been to a lot of press conferences and they know the right time to ask a question. There's usually a little bit of a lull in the conversation, a little bit of a lull in the answer, or the talent finishes their answer and then the person asks. So it's pretty important not to try and cut off other journalists or cut off the talent while they're asking questions. Ask with a clear voice. Make sure that you pronounce everything properly so there's no grey area, so the person that you're asking the question to understands what you're saying, understands the context of your question and understands exactly what it is that you want to know. That's pretty important.
A player's role at a press conference is to answer the reporter's questions as honestly and as well as possible.
A player's role at a press conference is to give feedback on the game and also give respect to their fellow teammates and opponents.
A player should prepare for a press conference by always being ready for any question that could be thrown at you.
Players should prepare for a press conference by going in there with an open mindset and not being negative.
A player should conduct themselves at a press conference by being very respectful towards everyone's questions.
A player should conduct themselves in a press conference by showing respect to the reporters, everyone in the room, the coaches, the other team, and answer truthfully.
Players should conduct themselves in a way that respects the club, respects themselves and respects their family.
The difficult part about answering questions at a press conference is making sure you say the right things that you don't get yourself in trouble.
The difficult part of answering questions at a press conference is you may not like the questions asked, but you have to be able to answer the questions respectfully and always make sure that you're respecting your club at all times.
A player shows respect to the media at a press conference by giving his honest opinions.
You show respect to the media at the press conference by answering their questions and not ducking anything that they say.
You show respect to the media at a press conference by always answering their questions politely and making sure you take the time out to listen to them.
You show respect to the fans at a press conference by speaking highly of them, showing appreciation for them coming out week in, week out, whether things are going good or bad, and really appreciating what they've done for you and the club.
You show respect to the fans at a press conference by praising them for coming out and watching you and paying respects to them because they're the ones that pay their hard-earned money to come watch you play.
A player shows respect to the fans at a press conference by giving his honest opinion about the state of the club and things that might need to be addressed.
You show respect to the opposition at a press conference by being humble, not speaking badly about them. If you win with modesty,
A player shows respect to the opposition at a press conference by not sledging him and putting him down.